Hey everyone, I'm Cosmic, and welcome to the Cloud. And if you're a new player, welcome to Splatoon. This game is really cool, and if you want to feel cool while playing it, here are some tips to improve. We're gonna start really basic, but eventually get into more complex advice, so stick around and you might learn something. First of all, aim. In Splatoon, you shoot opponents as well as covering the ground in ink. But don't aim at the ground. Shoot forward and your ink will fall and paint the ground as far as your weapon fires. While inking the floor, look ahead of where you're shooting to get a view of the stage and other players. On that note, ink a lot. Inking turf is really important in all modes, not just turf war. Having ink on the floor allows you and your team to move around the map quickly and stealthily. Inking an area makes that part of the map more accessible for your team while also cutting off that space from your enemies. In addition, inking charges your special gauge, which is crucial for taking back space and pushing forward with your team. Pay attention to the objective, of course, but don't neglect the importance of having ink on the ground. Try to paint your spawn area a bit when you respawn, and paint ahead of your team when you want to help them move in. Typically, anytime you aren't shooting, you should be swimming. Continue to hold down ZL while shooting with ZR, and you'll move back into your ink as soon as possible. Inking walls will allow you to climb them. Swim forward and spam the B button to move up quickly. Speaking of moving, know your movement options. Splatoon 3 has introduced the Squid Roll and Squid Surge, which allow you to dodge and fly up walls respectively. Squid Roll by swimming forward, then flicking the left stick in the opposite direction while pressing B. The roll gives you a small window where damage is reduced, so use it in close-up fights to block attacks and reposition yourself. You don't have to roll a full 180 degrees though. Make use of 90-degree and diagonal squid rolls to speed up your movement around the map, or to move quickly out of an enemy's line of fire. I personally have been getting much more use out of these sideways rolls than rolling in the complete opposite direction. It can take some practice to do them consistently, but once you do, your movement will be quick and snappy. Squid rolling off of a wall effectively gives you a wall jump. You don't even need momentum for this, just swim on a wall, then hold the left stick away from it and press jump. You can even squid roll onto a wall and then immediately roll off it to bounce away, which could be a good mix-up to outplay an opponent. The Squid Surge is activated by holding B while on a wall. Charge it up, then let go of B to fly all the way up the wall automatically, as well as jumping into the air. It doesn't matter how far up on the wall you are when you start the surge, you'll always make it to the top. But how long you charge the surge determines the height of the jump at the end. Like with the Squid Roll, you will glow for a brief period during the move. While you're glowing, you'll reduce the damage you take. You can shoot or use your sub-weapon at any time during either of these moves. Just be careful, as this will immediately cancel the roll or surge and your window of protection is gone. These fancy new moves are cool, but Splatoon 3 also features some classic techniques. Sub-strafing is a movement tech that allows you to quickly change direction while swimming without losing any momentum, and can be done with most sub-weapons. While swimming, press R to come out of squid form, let go of ZL briefly, then hold ZL again as you move the other way with the left stick. Make sure you don't accidentally use your sub-weapon, as this will cancel your momentum. As you can see, changing direction with a sub-strafe is much faster than simply holding the other direction on the left stick. And unlike the squid roll, which flings you through the air, strafing lets you stay down in your own ink where you can move quick and stay relatively hidden. Those are the fundamentals of movement and control in Splatoon. Now for some tips about awareness. Pay attention to the HUD to see how many players are alive on your team. If most of your team is down, don't try to be a hero. Rushing in and dying alone only hurts your chances of winning. Try to hold some control by inking the floor as your team comes back in. Stay in a safe spot and your team can super jump to you to get in faster. On the other hand, don't be afraid to move in if you have the advantage. If the other team has 2 or more people down, it's probably pretty safe for you to start making plays and scoring points. A wipeout means everyone on the enemy team has been splatted, so look out for it as it's your best chance to score big. Remember that patience is key. Waiting for the right moment to act can make all the difference in a match of Splatoon. It will often be advantageous for you to stay hidden in your own ink and move around slowly as to not be detected. This is known as sharking and is especially effective on certain weapons like rollers, brushes, and splatanas that rely on the element of surprise. While you're waiting for that perfect moment, remember to check your map. Not only can you see the location and abilities for every player on your team, but you can also get a good idea of the enemy team's movement. Look out for suspicious trails of ink down side paths or leading towards your base. You might be able to stop an enemy flank in its tracks. Check the map whenever you have downtime during the match, like when you're respawning or swimming back to the action. Now, Turf War is far from the only mode in Splatoon. How about some more specific advice for the modes found in Anarchy Battle? Splat Zones is one of the simplest modes to understand, but there's plenty of strategy and team play that goes into it. The goal of Splat Zones is to hold control of a space in the middle of the map by covering it in your team's ink. As a general rule, try to coordinate specials with the other players on your team. This can be difficult in a solo setting, but if you use the information the game gives you about who is alive and who has their special charged, you can make a more informed decision about when to use your own. In Splatoon 3, you can now see a little icon appear that tells you where and when your teammates use their specials. Most specials synergize well with others, so try to combine them in interesting ways in order to get more value out of each attack. Push up when your team has control, but don't neglect the Splat Zone or you could end up getting flanked. Remember, check your map. Rainmaker has probably changed the most out of any returning mode. Instead of rushing to the end goal, you now have to bring the Rainmaker to a checkpoint first. Before that though, you need to break the Rainmaker out of its barrier. When popping the barrier, be wary of the enemy team's position. If it looks like you aren't going to pop it before they do, try to back up and find cover. Then approach carefully and try to reclaim some turf. If you do manage to get the pop on the Rainmaker, don't just grab it without thinking. It's a good idea to paint ahead and take out some enemies before you start your push. If the Rainmaker player dies, the shield goes back up and the other team gets plenty of time to respawn, so try to plan ahead for longer pushes rather than getting a few points at a time. Again, try to coordinate with your team to make sure you're all on the same page. If you're playing with friends, tell them where you plan to take the Rainmaker. It's the job of the other 3 players to paint a path ahead and try to fend off the enemy team. As the Rainmaker, use your explosive shots to make it even more difficult for the enemies to get back in, but be ready to swim ahead when the path is clear. While holding the Rainmaker, it's the only weapon you can use. You'll be slower, but you can still use your Squid roll and surge. Plus, placing the Rainmaker on a checkpoint gives you back your normal main, sub, and special weapons, so be ready to use those to contest the enemy base. You even keep the charge on your special gauge, so if you plan ahead, you can make a huge impact. Tower control is all about moving the tower along a rail toward the enemy spawn. Here, it is even more important for you to move as a team to each checkpoint. At checkpoints, the tower sits still while your team gains points, which is the perfect opportunity for your opponents to take it over. Paint the area around and beyond the tower, but stay close to it and use specials to keep it under your control. Like Rainmaker, it's a good idea to clear out some enemies before you begin a push. Long-range weapons like chargers are especially good at picking off players who jump on the tower without thinking. Try to take them out or force them to move with specials like Inkstorm, Killer Whale, and Tentamissiles. Riding the tower actually makes your team's specials charge faster, so once you have a numbers advantage, be sure to have at least one teammate hop on right away. Charge your specials as the enemy is busy respawning, and you'll be prepared for when they come back in. Clam Blitz is often considered the most difficult mode to learn, especially if you're playing solo. The mode has been simplified somewhat in Splatoon 3, as it now just takes 8 small clams to create a power clam. Clams spawn in groups of 3, so if you swim into 2 groups, you'll be short a few clams. Remember that you can pass clams to teammates. Splatoon 3 has added a very useful detail to the Clam Blitz HUD. You can now see how many clams each player has, so work together and pass clams to players to help them build a power clam faster. Try to give clams to the person closest to 8. Don't forget that you can also see your team's total number of clams here on the left. A good push in Clam Blitz demands coordination. Try to contest the basket only once you've pushed up with your team and once you have a large number of clams. Ink the ground to get some control of the area, take out 2 or 3 enemies, then break the barrier with a power clam. As you and your team throw clams to score points, keep an eye out for respawning enemies, as well as any extra clams that may spawn around the map during your push. If the ground under a clam is inked with your team's color, you'll be able to see it on the map. And while you're looking at the map, make sure to look out for teammates near the basket, because you can actually super jump to a teammate with a power clam to spark a surprise attack on the enemy. Pay attention to anyone signaling this way while your team has a power clam. But don't just rush in anytime you see an opportunity. It's rarely worth it in Clam Blitz to score a power clam if you don't follow up with any small clams. When the basket closes, the defending team is given a power clam for free. Make sure you aren't breaking the barrier without a plan, because you could actually just be giving the enemy free ammunition. Timing is everything in this mode. Move with your team to score lots of points together. And don't forget to use your specials. Try to use supportive specials like Tacticooler, Inkvac, and Inkstorm before breaking the barrier, as they can help your team approach the enemy basket. Then use aggressive specials like Big Bubbler, Crab Tank, and Trizooka to defend your team as you score clams. A mistimed special can make or break a Clam Blitz push, as many specials prevent you from throwing clams while they're active. Holding a power clam makes you visible to everyone in the game, so you want to be in a position to throw it as soon as possible. In other words, not waiting out a special timer. All 4 ranked modes in Splatoon 3 allow for individual playmaking, but by working together with your team and knowing when to act and how, you can pull off incredible feats of mechanical skill and game sense. If you master everything in this video so far, you'll be off to a pretty solid start in your Splatoon 3 journey, but if you want to go even further, here are a few more advanced techniques. A technique that has been present since Splatoon 1 is something called ledge canceling. Normally when you climb a wall, your Squid or Octo jumps out of the ink and falls slowly back down. But by briefly letting go of ZL and then quickly holding it again, you can skip the jump entirely and immediately begin swimming forward. Squid Surge is a nice option for certain situations, but ledge canceling is still the fastest and least predictable way to round a corner. So everyone knows that holding B on a wall charges your Squid Surge, but you can actually continue to hold the button to stay stuck on the wall. This allows you to time the surge at just the right moment, and you could even move slowly around the wall in this state. Remember that you don't have to commit to the surge. While charging, you could turn it into a wall jump by holding back on the stick, or you could even wall jump halfway through the surge. After the wall jump, you can shoot or use your sub-weapon. Do this to poke opponents over ledges that aren't quite safe enough to climb up. Climbing a wall is one of the most vulnerable positions you can be in, so make use of a mix of these techniques to surprise opponents and stay alive. Combining the Squid Roll move and Sub-Strafe tech can allow you to get really fancy with your movement. From standstill, you can start moving, then quickly Sub-Strafe backwards and Squid Roll. This will effectively allow you to Squid Roll forward instead of backward. It's actually possible to do this without the Sub-Strafe, but the timing is pretty tight. The input is a little weird too. While swimming, you want to rotate the stick a little less than a half circle to the left or right, then flick it forward. This would mainly be used as an approach option that abuses the reduced damage to get in close. You can chain a few of these together in a row, but you lose momentum very quickly and it's not very practical. It's difficult to get these consistently, but if you're interested, I've linked a tutorial in the description that I found useful. Squid rolls in general have a lot of potential, from parrying attacks to moving around the map in ways you never could in previous Splatoon games. Try to incorporate them into your own gameplay, and don't be afraid to test them out in recon mode. You might even find a map-specific trick or shortcut. I'm sure that as time goes on, the community will master Splatoon 3's movement and come up with even more advanced techniques, strategies, and cool tricks to outplay opponents. But for now, these are the best tips I can give to someone looking to get better at the newest game in the Splatoon series. If you can think of any other advice, feel free to leave a comment. We're all at different places in our Splatoon journeys, and I'm sure there's more for all of us to learn. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to see more from me, you can follow my Twitch for streams and my Twitter for art. But with that, this has been Cosmic. Farewell.